bad about having been so dumb as to send these cards out, and obviously, I'd fixed the situation. So I wasn't like arrogantly like, what are you guys so upset about? You know, I've done everything I can do. Ha ha ha. It wasn't like that. It was just that I just couldn't feel any of this, and they set this meeting up in a very Japanese way because Japanese are great at this kind of ritual embarrassment. I don't know. This is the only word that comes to mind to kind of describe it. You know, where you ritually humiliate one person in front of a big group. You know, it's kind of a Japanese specialty. You know, they used to kill themselves over it when they had these things happen. So I was getting the whole treatment. So I come into this meeting, and they've got the desks arranged in this big semicircle in the room there. And every head of every department in the company is there, you know, with the president standing or sitting in a chair in the middle. And they made me stand. I didn't even get a chair. I didn't even get a desk. I had to stand in front of all these people who were like horribly angry at me. And you know, they kind of read me my crime, you know. And I started to speak, and they're like, no, you can't speak now. We will have your, you know, just to make it extra bad, we have your bucho speak and explain himself, because he's responsible for your actions, you know. And the guy who was the bucho of my department, he retired a couple of years ago, but he was this old Japanese guy. He actually served in the Imperial Japanese Army in World War II. I was very kind of proud of that fact. So he knew how to deal with this situation, and he did this whole, you know, ritual, you know, taking full responsibility for this terrible thing, and you know, and so on and so forth, and I, you know, and I had to explain myself, and I had to go and you know, say this, you know, it's my responsibility, you know, do this whole thing. But the whole situation was that I had to sort of almost play act what I felt, and I mean, this is a pretty serious situation because you know, I've been working at the company for a number of years by then. It was the key to my Japanese visa status, for one thing, and if they would have fired me, I would have probably had to figure out how to pack my stuff up and leave the country, you know, really quickly, under very, you know, unpleasant circumstances, or else, you know, try to find another job and get another visa, which would all been very iffy. But I'd kind of trusted my intuition on the situation and just thought, well, this is all right. This is going to be okay, and it doesn't really matter that much. And I felt a little strange because I felt like I ought to be upset about this, but I couldn't find it in myself, and it took a certain amount of time to figure out why that was. And I think it was directly related to my practice, and in particular directly related to the thing I talked about earlier this afternoon, when I was talking about the time I got this big anxiety attack on the floor over here. Because at that time it was like all the anxiety in the world, you know, piled up on you know, all in one night. You know, facing all of that, and I'd kind of been through that, and there was very little you can, once you kind of see where everything, all those kind of emotional reactions and things are coming from, it's difficult to get too excited about anything like that. Because the practice allows you to see where all that is coming from, and it's coming from you're generating it. All of this stuff, all the anxiety and fear and any of these other terrible emotions you can feel in your life are things you actually they actually don't just come unbidden. Um, what happens is a sort of a spark of a reaction will come, and you can't really help that. It just happens. And what we do with our minds is we play with that and add on to it and make it a bigger thing, and until we're suddenly having panic attack or anxiety and all this other stuff. But if you learn not to do that, you can kind of find a way to handle yourself in just about any situation. And that's really useful, I think. That's my story. That's my Nengajo horror story. It was just kind of a moment of noticing in a practical way that all this time I'd been wasting looking at walls every day had some kind of effect that was useful and practical. So that's my story.
I think I've heard this story before.
Really?
Or read about it.
Yeah, maybe I wrote it somewhere else.
Maybe it's on your
think
website.
So. Really? Ah.
I mean,
I didn't remember having written it down. I remember writing it down for the book, but maybe.
well, it's familiar to me.
Yeah.
And I haven't met you before, so.
Yeah. Well, maybe I lied. No, I didn't think I'd written it down before. So it didn't get too many laughs, so maybe I won't use it.
But do you think that was because that they were overreacting about such a stupid thing?
Well,
and
yeah.
if something really, really serious happened, do you think you'd be so calm?
Well, yeah. If something really serious, I don't know. I mean, like if this temple suddenly caught fire or something, or
No, something serious.
Well, yeah. I mean, it has helped in serious things as well, but some of that stuff you don't want to talk about. So yeah, I don't think it was just. I mean, that is certainly an aspect of it, but I mean, it was pretty serious in that I could have lost my job that I'd had for a long time. That I worked really hard to just get that job in the first place, and it could have really affected my life in a serious way. But it just didn't seem, even in that case, to matter all that much. A lot of the times when you kind of anticipate something as being really, really bad, when it actually happens, you kind of notice that, well, it's not that awful. I've had worse. But yeah, it was definitely a case of overreacting. But when you're in that business, that stuff becomes really important, and it was a case where a lot of it's kind of interesting in retrospect when I think about it. In that psychologically speaking, the company was pouring a lot of other problems they had into this particular thing, because several of the people who were dressing me down ended up getting fired a few months later, which is kind of ironic anyway. So they were having problems with each other that they were kind of, putting off on me for that particular day.
Do you think if you'd handled yourself differently, you might have been fired?
Probably. Probably. I mean,
That's what I was thinking. Because you were relaxed, were you acting in a relaxed way to kind of diffuse the whole situation and kind of save you?
Yeah, I think so. Because, and actually I realized I had to play act a certain amount of remorse, and not remorse, because I felt remorse, I suppose, but I had to play act a bit of panic, or else they'd think I was being too cool, So I did my best. Not like that, but did my best to sort of act the proper part. Yeah. I mean it